I'll spend, some time on what the story has been, who we are and what we do. And then I would love to share how Merito has been through thick and thin with us throughout this journey, right? So my name is Swati. I head undergrad program at Masters Union. Now Masters Union is a business school. The story started in 2020 when we launched our one-year postgrad program in tech and business management. And the idea was very simple. It was Pratham Mittal, who had studied in Wharton. He had done his undergrad in Wharton University of Pennsylvania. His family has been in the education industry, and he had a vision, and that vision was to make India in one of the top 10 business schools in the world. And that is when we started with a very, very small cohort of 60 students in our one-year program. Now, there have been many business management schools, so what was very, very different, right? The fact that all of us had studied, so I did my undergrad here in India in IIT, and then went on to do my MBA at Wharton, and many of our leadership comes from the Ivy League colleges abroad. The idea was that we had seen what the best of the world looks like, and what do the best, the top 10 colleges in the world look like. And we wanted to bring that kind of education to India. So we made two big changes on how education is delivered in the business schools. The one change that we did was we said the faculty, there have been so many conferences, so many panels on how do we integrate industry and academia. I think all of you are running great companies, but at the same time, you would struggle to hire the right talent, a quality talent that you would want. That's very difficult to find these days, despite that we have 1 crore people who graduate every year in India. So this misalignment somewhere is a result of industry not being integrated in the academia. So we said, let's bring practitioners, industry people, to come and teach at Masters Union. So we brought in people from Facebook, Google, Microsoft, McKinsey, Bain, and we said, why don't you take courses and train them on skills that you need in a future potential hire that you would want to do. And then second thing we did was we changed the pedagogy. We said, you learn the best when you do something, right? And I always take this example that in medical schools, you don't become a doctor by just reading a book on how to become a doctor. If you're becoming a surgeon, you have to go through a lot of surgeries, and you have to learn from practicing surgeons on how surgery is done. So why is business any different? Why can't we have business people running businesses with our students? And in the process, our students will learn how businesses are run. And those were the two big differences. I'll quickly show you a video that kind of summarizes. So that was a snippet of, thank you. So that was a snippet of what, the kind of pedagogy and the kind of faculty that we introduced in the business school. Now, when that happened, we can go to the next slide. When that happened, the result was stellar. Within the first 2 to 3 years, we achieved placements that we also didn't think that we would get, right? So we were matching Ahmedabad, ISB Hyderabad in terms of their placements. And we said, wow, how is it possible? I mean, people were talking about it. How is it possible that a 3-year business school, 3-year-old business school is achieving all of this? But we were also surprised. But it told us that industry is open. Recruiters are open because the current higher education system is not delivering the skills that's needed. And that sparked a thought in our minds, right? That told us that, hey, wait a minute. We get these 24-year-old, 25-year-old students to our campus. We give them this amazing curriculum, great pedagogy, and within 1 year, we are able to transform them. And we ourselves believe that 1 year is not a sufficient amount of time to be able to impart that knowledge. But we strongly believe that that gap lies in the undergrad. If you give the same curriculum, same pedagogy for 4 years to a much younger child, to a much younger student, that impact can last forever, right? And that's when we launched, can we go to the next one? That's when we launched our undergrad program in tech and business management, which is based on the similar philosophy, but is run for 4 years. And that's where I want to spend some time on how Merito has been our companion from day one. So I walked in and I was like, okay, I'm assuming things would already be set up and there would be something that I can build on. My habit of running my own startup and from the White Hat days, I said, okay, Google Sheets mein pura dashboard bana hua hona chahiye. Ye data points hain that I want to track daily. These are the data points that I want to track weekly. And I want revenue, not revenue, but I want applications total, then from which sources it's coming, which schools these are, and I want to track where exactly every application is. And I didn't assume that we have a CRM software or anything like that. And I went to my analytics team and I said, mujhe ye sab chahiye, right? And obviously, it was a lot of effort from them. And then I was told, why don't you meet the Merito team? And obviously, I knew, right? I knew about, it was called No Paper Forms that day. I knew about Naveen. I knew about the team. But I didn't know much about the functionalities. So I said, okay, these are the things. I met the team and I said, hey, these are the things that I want. And being a former consultant, I need this in a very, very nice, tightly dashboards. And to my surprise, it wasn't that they had to create those dashboards for me. It was already built in. So if you can go to the next slide, right? I would want to spend some time on how we leverage the technology here, especially the functionalities that Merito provides and what has been our insight. So my daily go-to dashboard is all of the applications and the sources. And what I love about the platform is the campaign dashboard. Because as a P&L lead, I need to make sure where am I spending money and what is the ROI that I'm getting, right? And just having that daily visibility of saying, hey, these are my 20 channels. This is the output that I'm getting from my 20 channels. And this is where I need to bump up and low down without having to depend on an analyst, and having that functionality of that even if I'm looking at data at midnight, I can just double click on my own without depending on anybody. I think that's what we use it for. At least I personally use it for and love the platform for that. The second one was obviously that when we get some applications, we make sure that a counselor is getting attached to that application, right? To that student to help them. Now, why we do that? Because the application process that we follow is very, very, I would say, elaborate, right? We don't have a simple form that you just fill in 5 minutes and your application is done. We have a lot of essays, we have a lot of achievements, certificates that we ask for. And sometimes students in India, we are not usually used to that, right? Or most of our students would say, ki acha test kaun sa dena hai? Do you take JEE scores? Do you take IP MAT scores? And I said, we will need to have counselors who are dedicatedly assigned to these students. But then when you have a team of counselors, and when that team scales, again, it becomes very difficult to manage people, right? Who's performing? Who's not performing? Whose app starts are converting into finally submitted applications, and which counselor is able to guide the student versus not. I think once, and that whole monitoring, we do that through Merito as well, where I know exactly, these are my 10 counselors, these are the students that have been assigned to them, and hey, this is how each of the counselor is performing, this is their conversion rate, and so on and so on. That analytics also helps me a lot in making decision in terms of people management and in terms of, who my team is effective enough. Now, those were on the application side. The third was obviously the communication with our potential students. Now, as a brand, it's very important that you keep communicating. And these two videos would have, and some social media presence would have told you that Masters Union as a brand, we are very, very big on coming out with content on YouTube, on Instagram, and just releasing a lot of podcasts with the CXOs that we host. And I wanted a way where we can communicate that, we can send that, consecutively to our potential students to generate interest. And that automation is also done through Merito, right? So we will make sure, okay, this is our release calendar of the things that we want to communicate, and I'll work with my marketing team and we'll just set that up. And it's not just about sending, right? Then again, being the data person that I am, I would want to see the open rates. I would want to see what is the action I'm getting on these emails. Should I send them? Should I not send them? What is the WhatsApp traction? All of that is also managed by Merito in our case. And the fourth is customizing the communication, right? It's one thing to say, just send this email to everybody. But it's another thing to say, hey, you know what? The students who are really, really hot on your program, this is the communication that needs to go. Students who are not that interested, seem a little cold to us, this is the communication that needs to go. So the ability to customize based on the cohorts, I think that depth is also what we leverage Merito for. And for us, it's like a lot of things in one. I remember during the startup days, I will have a separate CRM for just managing the prospective customers. Then you'll have a separate software to manage your communication with them, right? And then you'll have a third software to manage your counseling team and the sales team that you have. I think this is all in one, and that kind of helps us to just depend on one software and leverage that very, very effectively. So thanks, Merito team, for being so responsive to every time that we have reached out to you, and for having all these features that help us run our business successfully. Thank you.